This is FE Peer Review. The date is October the 28th, 2021. Blackpool Tower, Dow Craig, etc. with Ranty, Roohif, Brian Leakey, Tommy Grunwald, Gary Wybenga, and all the rest of the gang, including bonus cows. I will pause here for a moment. You may read it if you wish, and then I will move on. Tommy Grunwald did a video today that caught my attention. It was in response to a video by Roohif, which was in response to a video by Brian Leakey, which was in response to Ranty's famous Blackpool to Dow Craig Apostle Paul on the road to wherever he was going, realization that everything was not what he had thought it was, etc. And so it was all very interesting. I enjoyed Tommy Grunwald's video very much. I'll put a link in the description and encourage you to go check it out. I also wanted to share with you the screenshot from Roohif's video, in case you want to check that one out. I am using in the video we're about to see the same figures that Roohif used in order to be consistent with him. People supporting both the globe model and the flat model have been saying things at times that sound to me ambiguous or unclear. For example, at least one flat Earth proponent seems to insist that the more distant object will rise above the closer object as the observer moves away, and that this is not possible on a globe Earth. In fact, it is possible and can be readily seen. I will show that in the 3D model we will soon be looking at. On the other hand, I've heard globe Earth proponents seem to suggest that the more distant object would never rise above the closer object as the observer moves away. The answer here is it depends. There will be cases when that is true and cases when that is not. We will see both in the model we will soon be looking at. 5 geometric factors in a long-distance observation involving 2 target objects. 1. The height of the distant object. 2. The height of the near object. 3. The observer height. 4. The distance from the distant object to the observer. And 5. Distance from the near object to the observer. These 5 factors, any of them can be varied. We can have the observer farther away. We can have the observer go higher. We could have a different distance between the 2 objects. We could have a different relationship, a different ratio of heights between any of these 3 objects, the observer and the 2 observed objects. So all these things can be changed, and in changing them in globe geometry, different cases arise. Now, on a flat Earth with light traveling in straight lines, a more distant object, if it was taller than the closer object, would invariably, inevitably appear above the closer object if you simply got far enough away. Absolutely in every case. I actually showed this in another video of mine, a couple months back. I'll find it and put a link in the description. So if you're moving away on a flat Earth, the more distant, higher object will eventually rise up above the closer, lower object. Always. Now, on a globe Earth, it might or it might not. Both are possible. And so, if you can identify a case where it does not, then you have shown that an observation that is not possible on a flat Earth where light travels in straight lines. Okay. Let's take a look next at our model, our 3D model. Here is an overview of my 3D model in Sketchup, and I'll just give you a quick look at all the parts. In the back here where I'm circling the mouse, I've got 3 little objects which I will zoom in on in a moment and explain what they are. And then this long piece in the middle of the screen, that is a flat Earth with an observer at the left end, an observed lower object in the middle, and an observed higher object at the far right. The second group of objects on the lower right of the screen is a curved Earth observation. And at the far right, we have our Dow Crag tall object. We're now towards the middle, we have the lower object, which would be our Blackpool Tower. And then I have set up a series of observation points so that we can see what happens as we move towards and away. And the distances here, like I'm back on the middle one up here, from the observer to the Blackpool Tower is 19 kilometers, 19.62 kilometers. And from Blackpool Tower to Dow Crag, it is 61.8 kilometers. So those are the numbers that Roohif was using in his recent video. And they represent a slight refinement, I believe, on some earlier numbers. Now these are the objects. There's actually 4 objects we're going to look at here. The large green kind of house-looking thing, that's supposed to be Dow Crag. A little bit of artistic license here, but the height of it is accurate from the top to mean sea level, 700 and, let's see, try that again. 778 meters from mean sea level to the top of Dow Crag. We have Blackpool Tower here, and it has a height of 165 meters from the top of the tower to mean sea level. I don't have it here, but I actually have a second Blackpool Tower object, which we will see at a certain point. I'll come in over here and look. We can take a look at it. I made a kind of a squatter version. If Blackpool Tower had been 30 meters shorter, what would we have seen? So we'll see that as well. And then finally, back to our little group of objects, we have what I'm calling station points. They are the observer's location. And in the original Southport view that Ranty was working with, the height above mean sea level was determined to be 5 meters. So from the center of that circle to the base is 5 meters. And then I've made a second station point object because we're going to be looking at what happens if we look from a higher vantage point. So our second station point has a height of 50 meters. So those are our objects. Let's take a look over here now at what happens on a flat Earth. There's our flat Earth. And I want to make it clear that it is indeed flat. This is the ground surface here. This highlighted part, let me reverse that. So that's our ground surface. And I'm going to come in here alongside it. And if you look, you come in here, it looks pretty straight flat ground. So I have set up a station point here 5 meters off the ground, and if we had observed Blackpool Tower and Dow Crag on a flat Earth with light traveling in straight lines, this is the view we would have seen. With Dow Crag rising above Blackpool Tower. Now this is also consistent with the geometry and trigonometry that has been floating around on various people's videos. And here you see it in a 3D model in perspective. So we'll scoot out of there and go on to the next thing. Now what we're going to do is head over to our globe Earth, and I want to show you the globe ground surface. So there's our curved ground surface. And these are the various station points I've laid out at distances away. The one up at the top right is our Southport observation. So we're going to be coming in here. You can see the 50 meter high station point and the 5 meter high station point. We are going to go to the 5 meter high station point, which was the original photo that Ranty was so struck by. So there we are looking at Blackpool Tower and Dow Crag in the back. And I will also add here that the curvature that I've used represents 7/6 R. So I'm factoring in standard refraction I didn't, in order to keep this video a reasonable length, I'm not doing any observations here based on zero refraction. I just went ahead and skipped that, and we're looking at standard refraction. If people have a problem with that, I can make another video and include zero refraction. However, I didn't want to make this last forever. So that is Blackpool Tower with Dow Craig in the back, and it's a pretty good match if you compare it to the famous photo. Now what happens if we go, let's see, let's go back. We're going to go back by the distance, the steps I did for going back, backing up, were half of the distance from Southport to Blackpool Tower. The distance from Southport to Blackpool Tower was 19 something kilometers, 19.6 kilometers. So I'm doing just under 10, 9.8 kilometers going back. So each step back is going to be going away by 9.8 kilometers. So here we are back in Southport, and turn off the short tower. That's the normal Blackpool Tower seen from Southport. Now we're going back 9.8 kilometers. And yes, we see the Dow Craig rising up behind Blackpool Tower as we go back. It's been rising, but it's not overtaking it. Now, this is the critical step back, because what's going to happen in this step is that the mountain is going to disappear. But if you look close, and I'll probably zoom in once it's finished setting up. If you look close, you can still see a tiny bit of the top of Blackpool Tower. There, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but there's about 2 pixels worth of the top of Blackpool Tower. So I'm going to reset the zoom from 3 degrees of view angle to 1 degree. And maybe you can see it better there. There's a little bit of the tower sticking up. So the mountain was rising up behind Blackpool Tower, but at 5 meters off the ground, it never actually overtook Blackpool Tower before disappearing behind the curve of the Earth. We'll now return to our original viewpoint, and we will see what happens when we go. Okay, well, let's do this. We're back at our original viewpoint, and I've got the mini Blackpool Tower on the right here. That one is 30 meters lower than the actual Blackpool Tower. What if they had built it 30 meters shorter? Well, it also is higher than the mountain behind it. So let's move back a step. We're backing up 9.8 kilometers, and the mountain has just overtaken the top of the tower. So had Blackpool Tower been 30 meters shorter, it would indeed, the mountain would indeed have overtaken it as you move back. You see, because the ratio of the heights has changed. Now the distances between hasn't changed, and our steps back as the observer hasn't changed, but the ratio between the height of the tower and the height of the mountain has changed, and the result is that when we're closer to it, the tower is higher above the mountain, but when we move back, the mountain overtakes the tower. So we move back, the mountain overtakes the tower. And then they both gradually disappear under the horizon. So that would have been what we'd have seen if Blackpool Tower had been 30 meters shorter. Now let's go back to our original position. I'm going to turn off the short tower, and we are going to go straight up from a 5-meter viewpoint to a 50-meter viewpoint, but over the same spot on the ground. So we're still on the beach at Southport. So there we are, 50 meters in the air, and Dow Craig is still lower than the tower, but it is not as low as it was before. It appears higher than it did before. I will go back down. That's 5 meters off the ground, and that's 50 meters off the ground. Now, at 50 meters off the ground, we're going to back up. We're going to move away by 9.8 kilometers, and the mountain overtakes the top of the tower. So here we have kept the original objects. Their heights are the same as in the original photo, but our viewpoint, our observer height has changed, and now we see clearly that the mountain rises above Blackpool Tower. We will continue moving away, still above. Notice something happening here though. The gap is closing. Although the mountain's still above the tower, it's not as much above the tower. And we're going to go back one more step. And again, you probably can't see it well on the video screen, so I'm going to zoom in a moment. But at this point, at this step back, the tower is now above the mountain again. So let me zoom in. I'm staying in the same location. I'm just increasing the zoom factor so we see it better. Okay, it's at the bottom of your screen. You can see that the top of the tower is above the mountain. So there you go. Depending on the ratios of the heights, depending on the ratio of the height of the observer, the distance of the observer to the different objects, all these things, you change any one of them and you can get various scenarios working out. On a globe Earth, you can have both situations. You can have the mountain rise up from behind and overtake the structure, or you can have, no matter how far back you go, the mountain never overtaking the structure. Both things are possible on a globe Earth, just depending on the ratios of the heights and the ratios of the distances and the various combinations of those ratios. I promised you cows, and I keep my promises. So here are cows. We've got two gentle, happy cows out grazing in the middle of the field. You stop and lean over the fence and look at them, and they lift their heads from the grass and look at you. They look to be about the same size. They're standing side by side. And as you step back, odd, one of them seems to get smaller and the other one doesn't. Well, maybe he is getting smaller, the one on the right, but the one on the left's getting smaller a whole lot faster for some reason. They aren't at all the same size. It seems like the one on the right's bigger, the one on the left is smaller. Well, now the one on the right's sinking. The one on the left has sunk a little bit too. She's lost her hooves. One on the right's going down to the nose now, but he's still big, and look how small the one on the left has become. Strange. Well, let's get back up there again and get a little closer. Big cow on the right, little cow on the left. What do you make of that? What would be going on here that would cause such an effect? Shall I show you? Big cow is the size of our mountain, pretty nearly. And cow on the left is the size of Blackpool Tower. So they're actually really, really different in size. Let's copy this guy. Let's copy this one over here so we can compare them side by side. What do you suppose? So there you go, your bonus cows. I hope you found this video interesting. Feel free to leave comments, like, subscribe, tell your friends, do all those things, whatever else you can think of. I guess I'll say have a great day, and FE Peer Review on his way out.